in my journey has been just the understanding that you have to watch how you speak to yourself.
I've been asked on dates, the artist has done this, and I'm like, I love you like my brother. Simple as that. There's never been a line crossed. That's where it gets tricky in work. Did you put yourself in that position? Did you allow it to happen? You can say no and move on and find another door.
On this episode, we have my really good friend, Sarah Akiba. Sarah is a celebrity stylist who's worked with the likes of David Guetta, Jay Wheeler, Ed Sheeran, and many more. She's also the founder of the AWOM Foundation. Born from the loss of her father, she's used the foundation to inspire many women in South Florida to find their purpose. Sarah, welcome to You Versus You.
Action.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to this incredible conversation. I'm excited to have you. I got a chance to go to your podcast the other day, and I think it was honestly one of the best conversations I had. Like, I was really proud of that one. You know, when you leave somewhere, you're like, I think I nailed that one.
Yes.
But I want to get started. I think one of the amazing things of having you, I feel like since we met, we've had this like genuine connection without truly knowing each other really well.
I felt,
right?
When you left, that's exactly what I felt. I was like, I don't really know him, but I feel like I've known him forever. Yeah. Like, you're my high school boy. Like, right? I don't know. That's how I felt. That was the level,
It really does.
It's weird.
Even when I, when you invited me to your podcast, I was like, wow, I generally, that day I was thinking, it's like, I need an incredible woman to have on my podcast that I know we can have a great conversation. And literally, as I was saying, look, the power of manifestation, you text me and I was like, wow, this is out of all people.
That's
like, this
God,
is amazing.
I love that.
Love it. And I'm excited to, one, get to know you a little better, and two, to really talk about, from a woman's point of view, what our human condition is, right? Which I think is really what this podcast is about. So to get started, grew up in Paris. What was that like?
So I was born in Paris. I went back and forth, immigrant, obviously, from here. So we left when I was 4 due to anti-Semitism. So we would get swastikas on our door every week. And then my dad was saying, and this was back then, my dad was like, you know what, this isn't safe anymore. We got to get out of here. So when I was 4, we left, me, my 3 older brothers, my parents, and came to America. But we had that investor's visa where you have to leave every 6 months. So we were in and out. So I grew up here and there. Came to Miami and went to a couple different schools. It was definitely difficult coming here, being that I only spoke French. And then went to like a school where there were a lot of rich kids. We weren't quite there yet. Yeah. And I didn't have the same shoes as everyone else. I don't know if you guys remember those Melissa jelly shoes.
Okay,
you remember that? They had the little heels and you'd wear different color socks so you could see through the shoe. Yeah. And all the girls would make fun of me. And I first barely understood what they were saying. And second was just like, oh shit, how do I get these shoes? Yeah. And no one would talk to me. I remember it was like 6 months, like a year, like, damn, I don't have these shoes. Maybe if I get the shoes, I'll get the friends. I got the shoes and immediately they started talking to me.
Isn't that crazy?
Crazy. I didn't become their friends though. I didn't.
You held it down.
I became the leader straight up.
I love that. It's interesting. I had never considered the immigrant story from a different point of view, right? Growing up in Miami and being Colombian, I went through the same thing. I came here speaking Spanish, and believe it or not, I in my class, we were in the ESOL classes, so everyone there was either Brazilian but nobody gave you the crash course of like, here's what American culture is going to be like. Because it's very different, right? Yeah. Today, living in America in comparison to living somewhere else, and what it does to your emotions, right? Like, I feel a lot of people here, it's very easy, I mean, myself included, and I'm sure you can identify to this as well. We work quite a lot in comparison to other people from other places.
Oh, yeah.
You
go to France, 5 o'clock, no one's talking to you after. No, 5:01, no phone calls.
And it's disrespectful if you text someone after that.
Absolutely.
And we don't have that culture here. And to me, what I think as a kid, for me, getting used to the understanding that, okay, this culture of almost bullies in America, right? Like almost like what you wear is more important than who you are.
That's right.
I think it had a lot to do with how my childhood got affected and the lessons I ended up having to learn the hard way.
So true.
Do you feel like being from France or, growing up in Paris, coming here, not necessarily Latin, not necessarily tons of French people here, the language barrier and also the lack of having what other people had, did that create motivation in you that you think you're going to that motivation now as an adult, or do you think that it created more of a pain or trauma that now you're having to deal with as an adult?
It's such a good question, because right away I answer, no, my struggle is my superpower. Like, that struggle made me better, 100%. And I think in a world like today, I miss bullies. I miss bullies for kids. I think you should get bullied. I think it builds character. There's a big difference though, right? Now, if I go back and I'm like, damn, but I also have a problem when it comes to loss, when it comes to losing friendships, when it comes to losing people, I have like an anxiety towards that. And that might also stem from what I went through as a young kid, where my friends were bullies so mean to me. So they checked out of my life or I checked out of theirs. And I have that now. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it comes from that. I don't know. It's a really good question.
In my experience, in helping young people deal with trauma, and even my own, I realized that 99% of it comes from those moments where you as an adult, you choose your trauma in a lot of ways.
Couldn't agree with that more.
Right?
Yes,
you
totally.
choose the things that you end up putting yourself, because you just don't want to learn the lesson. And we'll talk about that in the conversation. But as a kid, you're just discovering the world, and you're faced with these situations that are driven by the environment, whether that sometimes is home, or whether that's in school. But it's really interesting because I was speaking to a friend of mine. She was bullied before when she was young. And so she has temperament issues and anger issues because of the frustration. So anytime she feels like she's being attacked, her reaction is to protect that little girl that once bullied, right? Because now she could.
How do you even figure that out?
Honestly,
that's hard to figure that out.
It started with the conversation of like, let's try to go back to where you feel that feeling before. And I learned that once I did a therapy, and I was dealing with a lot of emotion, and the therapist told me, pause for a second. Go back, I think I was 30 at the time. She's like, go back when you were around 25 years old. Do you remember feeling that feeling? And I was like, yeah. Okay. Wow. She's like, can you identify where you felt that feeling? Okay, now let's go back to when you were 15. Did you feel that feeling? Is there any moment that you can like pinpoint where you're like, that same? And I was like, yeah. Okay, now go back when you were 10. Can you feel that feeling? And now go back. And then you start going back these memories, and it opens your subconscious to start thinking of things you haven't thought about before.
Wow.
Like for me, for example, one of the pain points in my life had been that no matter how much I had accomplished, I never felt like enough. And I used to be scared of approaching the business or being the Lexpert or whatever. And I think, as a matter of fact, I created Lex as a protection mechanism for Alejandro.
Yeah.
But it came from two like very key points in my life. One was once my parents divorced and my dad remarried, and I found out that his wife was pregnant. I felt that shock. Like, but I'm not enough. And then like a couple years later, I was already in the music industry, just starting. And a friend of mine was an artist, and they had money. They lived in Weston. They had a studio, and the mom was like a super momager. And I remember that one day we had a session at her house, and I was producing. And the mom pretty much came to me and said, hey, listen, I know that this girl is your friend. My daughter's your friend. But the truth is, you're not good enough. And it's crazy because I'm 39 years old, and I still remember that moment. Wow. And for many years, I didn't realize where that came from. But it affected my whole life.
How big that you remember that, though.
Yeah. And
that
it was
is
through
a
that
telling
work.
moment for you. Absolutely.
It's through that work of reflection of going back and like what
I mean,
it was.
as you're saying this to me, there's something that comes up, like I told you before. I mean, it's Monday today. I went through I think I cried 3 times on the way here. Like, it's just been a day, you know, with family and this, that. And I was saying, like, I have a fear of loss or someone not showing up for me. And then you just said, how'd you feel when you were 15, when you were 10? When I was 10, I stopped going to school for 8 months because I was afraid that my mom would forget to pick me up. So I would pretend, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but I would pretend that I would throw up every morning to make her think I was sick so I wouldn't go to school. So I would choose pizza in the morning and throw up and be like, Mom, I threw up, I can't go to school. And then after 8 months, she's like, we gotta figure something's going on. You're not throwing up, you're not losing weight. Like, what's going on, you know? And I just tell her, like, I'm afraid to go to school. Like, I'm afraid you'll forget me. Isn't that to be forgotten? And I realize maybe it's not like fear of losing someone, but maybe fear of being forgotten. That's kind of crazy.
Can you remember a time before that you felt that?
Yeah, I can. This is wild. I was in Bed Bath & Beyond. Holy shit. I don't know what you're doing. This is crazy. Bed Bath & Beyond, and I lost my mom in the store. And I was screaming because I was so scared I couldn't find her. And I found another lady and I just like held on to her, you know, until my mom came back to me. That's so great. I remember exactly which Bed Bath & Beyond in Aventura. That's crazy.
It's insane the power of our brains and how it retains those emotional touch points that trigger. Do you remember like a specific memory in your childhood that you're like, okay, that one makes me really happy?
I hope you're enjoying this episode of You Versus You. If these conversations are inspiring you and are bringing value to your life, please make sure to subscribe, join the community, and don't forget to share with anyone who you think needs to hear this. Thank you for supporting the show. Now let's get back to our episode.
How sad that I have to think harder for the happier moments. First thing that comes to mind, maybe my birthday party when I was 5.
What happened in your birthday party?
Everybody came.
Yeah.
It was so fun. Like, I was the French girl who finally had friends, you know?
Yeah.
And everyone came, and I had my first slow dance with my crush. Yeah.
That first love, huh?
Oh my God. So funny. But yeah, I remember. And then my mom came in the middle and started doing the crybaby on the floor. And I remember being like, oh my God, why is she doing it? Like, French lady getting it, and not the right way, like, not, you know? But you know what? I was never embarrassed of my mom doing things like that. I was always like, I love this lady. Yeah. You know, like, she would always be the lady that dances in the store to like make me embarrassed. And I just start dancing with her till this day.
I don't know why, me growing up, I was always a bit ashamed of the things that my parents would do. Because I to that point of feeling maybe not good enough, anything that can open me up for criticism would put my body into contraction. And it took me a really long time. And I think it's still something that I had to work on where I you know, certain things, even if somebody else is doing it, not even me, right? It could be like whoever, my friend or something does something quirky and I'm like,
Don't do that. I know that feeling so well.
That feeling and it's interesting because, you know, it's a feeling of fear. It's a feeling of like being afraid of being judged.
Yes, totally.
And it drives so much of your daily routine because we're especially now as adults, you're faced with having to deal with other people. You can't just go into, you know.
Like, I know exactly when you go like I know that contraction. Feeling, right? I know exactly what you're talking about, but for me, the only people that can make me feel that way are my brothers and my mom. No other people affect me like that.
Why do you think just them?
I think I care. Here we go. I think I care the most about what they think about me. Like, I want them to be like the ones that love me the most. and just make them the most proud. You know what I mean? I don't need a stranger to tell me good job. I need them to tell me good job. Why? I don't know.
Did you grow up in a strict home?
I mean, my dad, super Moroccan macho man, and my 3 older brothers, protectors, and then all their boys, I couldn't move, you know? I'd have to figure my way out. And the one time I got a way out, I was at, do you remember Arcadia?
Of
club?
Course, yeah.
I got caught. 15 years old. Someone hit up my brother, goes, yo, Lil Akiba's here. And I'm like, oh shit. Like I saw him from far.
Yeah.
And my brother, 30 minutes later, my brother was there. And I hid under the table like this. Like,
like yeah, that's gonna find you.
I was like, melt me into the floor. Like, please, you know? So strict, I would say yes. Strict household for sure. But not with grades or anything. Like I used to have to beg my parents to look at my report card.
Wow.
My parents came from the hood of Paris and Morocco. Like my dad, 6 brothers and sisters in one little attic of a temple because my grandparents built the temple with their bare hands and lived in there with one bed, all the brothers and sisters. And my mom in the ghetto of Paris, like she would always tell me, she's like, I'd wake up in the mornings and people on the stairs with like needles and like dead. Like that's what she would wake up to. So for me, I wasn't raised like that. They made sure. So school for them wasn't important. It was street smart. My dad would say, like, don't go to college, read books. And my dad would read till 4 a.m. every single night. He was never asleep. 1 book a night. And he was, I mean, intelligence to the, too much for this world, I always say.
Wow.
Too much, too big for this world. He understood so much. He's like, I can't do enough to help enough. I'm not, he wasn't meant for here.
With such a strong presence in your life and the fear of being left, I know you lost your father. Do you feel like that you've had a hard time dealing with that grief or that having to face that fear that your main protector is not there?
Man. Right now, more than ever. I'm getting married, and I was always really afraid of getting married. I know we talked about this, which is weird because my parents, God bless them, had the most beautiful marriage ever. My mother still goes in front of my dad's photo and goes, "Tu aimes ce que je mets aujourd'hui? Like, do you like what I'm wearing today?" She asks him, you know? But I don't know. I always had that fear. Maybe it's the loss part, you know? And I feel alone in this wedding sometimes. My mom's there for me. She's present. But you know, when you have your father being there, like, I got you, like, especially I'm the youngest of 4 and I'm his little girl. So there is where I feel like his death made me stronger, 100%. Like his death, it's sad to say, but it gave me my purpose. My purpose is people. My purpose is whoever's less than, I want to make them feel good. I can make them better. I can furnish their home if I raise enough money. I can get them off the street if they want to get off the street. I can make my students be better by talking to them, even if it's those late phone calls. Their parents do drugs, great, come sleep over. I'll do your laundry, I'll take you to school. It's all been done in my home. And that came from my dad's loss. Was it difficult? For sure. Like, the moment of him dying, but the moments after made me better because I speak to him. Like for me, God, I believe so much in God, and because of my dad, but I believe in even higher than that because when I talk to my dad out loud, immediate signs. Like it's no question. I'm afraid to say it sometimes because I'm like, oh no, I don't want one right now. You know, it's like scary. But I feel strength from his loss, and I feel like I literally always say this. My struggle made my biggest superpower. You know, the most sour lemon is the sweetest lemonade. Like you taught me. You literally the other day. It's perspective.
You know, it's really interesting. Today when I woke up in the morning. I saw TikTok of a cut from Bruce Almighty when Morgan Freeman is speaking to the actress, and he says, you know, people ask for patience, and God gives you an opportunity to be patient. And I love that because I truly believe that. I truly believe that we came to this place, and the true identity of this place is the school. We came to learn.
Yeah, I love that.
And that as much as we don't want to go through pain, we can go through pain without suffering. Suffering is a state of mind. Pain is just temporary that you feel because it's growth, right? And we've been conditioned as humans to run away from the hard times. We've been conditioned as humans to look at things from a POV of good and bad. And the thing is that your soul completely chose your life experience. Your father's soul completely chose the life experience.
Yeah.
And the fact that I hear you say, from his loss came my purpose. Sometimes we ask for purpose and God gives you the opportunity to derive purpose, right? And I love that because, like you, I grew up in a home where the word of God was present, right?
Yes.
Where the teachings of believing that there's a greater reason for us to be here was there. And I explore so much the good and the bad of what that came from.
Yeah.
That I would say for a very long time, it caused pain, right? It caused suffering.
The belief of God, you mean? Or
yeah, the
or the stuff that comes with it. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Of religion, right?
Yeah.
The practicing that it felt like we were strict, the practicing that it felt like it was fearful. I always said, in being able to study now multiple religions, I realized that in many religions there were, people are taught to fear God. So you are afraid of God to a place where you feel condemned if you don't do certain things.
Do you feel that way?
I don't now.
You don't.
But when I was a kid, for sure.
Yeah.
For kids, the number one word that you were taught in church is don't do this or
God will punish you.
That's not godly. That's not God's going to punish you. Like if you don't pray, like if you grow up Catholic, it's like if you don't go and, give your sacrifice on a Sunday, then, God's not listening to your prayer. If you don't put a little coin, God's not going to listen to your prayer. If you don't.
Yeah.
And for many years, what I realized is that makes you approach the world with fear because you have no self-identity.
Totally.
Your identity is completely based on my actions will dictate and will figure out if God loves me or not. And as I've evolved, as I've grown up, as I've experienced life, as I've gained other knowledges, I started to learn that the best reflection of God is us. Like we are in complete spirit what God is. And it's not something you got to go find. It's not something, it is just
in you.
It's you.
You know what's crazy? You know that feeling that you were saying before?
Yeah.
The feeling when you say that is like surrender. Like my whole body just like immediately calmed down. Because that fear of God, very good brand. But but I don't feel that. I don't feel that. And because though I have my own relationship with God, like I was never taught to fear God. I don't think, but I don't have to go to temple to pray.
Yeah.
My prayer is me and him in the morning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or meditation or music.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you this before, but I'm huge in worship music. Like I'm a Jew. At this point, I'm a Jew for Jesus because,
Jew for Jesus.
Like every time they say Jesus, I'm like Hashem because that's how we say God. I'm like, because it's just so powerful and moving. And I think it does stem from your home, like how they choose to teach you God in the home. Like how now you can teach your child from your experiences that it's actually not that way.
Well, historically, in Judaism, you have a clear understanding that you are God's people. So you're not taught to fear God, you're taught to honor, right? Like we're taught to honor God. In many other religions, you're taught to fear. It's a place of fear because it's a place of control. If you have to earn God's love, you have to earn that part. And it affects people's psyche, just like all the things that we're talking about in school, right?
Yes.
It affects how you approach business. It affects, because you're always in a place of insecurity of, am I doing something or is God going to punish me? And, not to stay too long in the subject of religion, but for me, what I've learned, regardless of whatever religion any person is, I think the moment you grasp that you're internal, you're you versus you, and you have the power. And I saw this in one of the books and that I was reading on a Navy SEAL. And he said, all the heavens, all the hells, all the gods, and all the demons are within you. And for many years, I was like, okay, what does that actually mean? And then it finally hit me, like, it's all your mind.
Yeah.
You can choose to suffer.
That's right.
And you can choose to live a life of suffering because of how you see yourself, how you reflect on yourself, how you look at, the loss or those traumas that we have, as we talked in your podcast about, the filter and being able to identify the filter, but also love the filter because it's kept you safe certain times and it's also holds you back from a lot of things.
Totally.
So being a woman and coming from a family of strong men, and your mom was also in fashion, right?
Yep.
Do you feel the pressure to be successful?
I would say yes, because of the lifestyle that I want. I think just pressure on my own. But also as a kid, like, there were no naps in our home, like you were not allowed to nap. Like, you woke up and, it was immediately every morning, allez, courage. All right, courage. That's how we would wake up in our home. Like, those were the 2 words. And with the pressure to be successful, yeah, but I put it on myself because of the life that I want, like we talk about, going to live on a farm and just, but in order to get there, you have to have a certain life before, I think. But I think success also, the definition of success for me is, and to admit this is kind of wild, but I do want people to remember me for something. I want to be remembered. And some people might say that that's silly for what, but I think I want to make a name for myself, to at least stamp something in this world and say, okay, like, you made that change,
What do you want to be remembered for?
That's a really good question. I should know that before saying that, right? Doing something good. As long as it's something good. And it doesn't have to be to a mass of people, but to someone, that can at least domino effect to someone else.
Do you feel like that hasn't already happened? Because I feel like you've impacted me when I speak to you.
Yeah, but I mean, my students were texting me today, like, Miss Sarah, we better be invited to your wedding. And I'm like, oh crap, like, I gotta invite my kids, But yeah, for sure. Because if they're still writing me, then I have. But I guess we have that thing, man. Maybe it's American culture, like you say, like, it's never enough. It's not enough.
What is success to you?
Peace. I turned down 3 jobs this week just for peace. And they were, God knows, it was a nice check. But I just kept getting that feeling, that contraction. I'm like, it's too much for me right now.
So do you think your chase for the lifestyle you want will take away your peace?
No, it'll give me more peace.
Why?
Because you have money to do it.
Well, who said money brings peace? You and I both know a lot of wealthy people without peace.
Oh my God, too many. But I think it does. It allows you to have the resources to have peace. You know what I mean? To not live paycheck to paycheck, does that make sense?
So I want to challenge you in something.
No,
right?
yeah, I love this. Please go. Like, I'm loving it.
Only reason is because when we put our efforts to achieve something in return of something that's internal, we end up finding out that actually nothing changed, right? Because if the answer was money, then all the really wealthy people we know should be at peace, but
And
they're not.
not. No.
If the answer is more fame, then all the famous people we know would be at peace. If the answer is more awards or more legacy, then all the people that we remember and talk about in history would have died in peace.
So then what are we here for? It's hard. I think of this all the time. Then what's your purpose? You know what I mean?
But here's the thing. Purpose is, in my POV, the purpose is the driving force to get you up in the morning and make you feel like you belong somewhere, right?
Okay.
But the result of purpose is what we need to let go of. Because we base our value on the result. We don't base our value on the fact that, hey, if my purpose was like to be a father, then my job is just get up every day and be a father, loving and caring. Now, if my daughter decides to go do something I don't agree with, then what I was really being a father for is for her to be something that was, but I don't control her.
Right.
I can't control her. I mean, there's probably so many fathers that hope better for their daughters and their daughters end up doing, the pornography business or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And what I've come to understand as I've achieved success, or success as we all mention it, is that I said I need to work harder and I need to build more money and I need to get more awards in order to get peace. Mm-hmm. And then you get there and you want something else, so you're not at peace. Because then you say, no, wait. The thing is, universe, what I meant to say is that when I get the Ferrari and I get like the 1,000 Grammys, I'm going to be all good. And then you get the Ferrari and 1,000 Grammys and you're like, no, but you didn't listen, right? What I meant was $1 billion. And then you end up in this circle of, did I actually need all of those things to be in peace? And so, I think across the spiritual books and across different teachings, the concept of whatever you put value on will be taken away because it's a crutch to your true understanding of self. So I never really understood that until I said, okay, well, if I want more money and my desire is the money is going to give me happiness, life will completely show you that it's not that. And then you have no hope, right? Because then you're like, but if it wasn't the money, then what? And then that's when people start crumbling and going into depression. So many, people. So my challenge is that I truly believe, and I'm putting in the work to believe that the inner peace, the inner joy, the search for everything that I thought was in what I will become is actually here. If I say, well, my legacy is to touch people, well, I'm already touching people. So is it touching people, or is it feeling like those people will remember me and that gives me self-worth? And so really what I have is that I don't have self-worth. And I'm trying to earn self-worth by my work in my life.
I love that.
But then you can identify, okay, so if I know for sure I'm okay no matter what, then how do I start speaking to myself? Because I also caught you doing something that this is the kind of things that my spiritual leader does. And it'd be pissing me off.
Yeah.
He'd be like, rephrase. Don't say, I think I want to be remembered. I want to be remembered. And then ask yourself why. It's kind of like the therapy session saying, well, have you felt that before?
Right.
And as you start going down that path, you start realizing like, I'm actually freaking okay. And if it all ended today, I learned a lesson. Now, it doesn't mean that I want to stop searching for those things, right? Like I work every day so that the people around me are blessed by my work. Okay. That's my daily purpose, right? I have financial dreams and goals that I want to accomplish them. with the understanding that none of it would bring me happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I desire them because those things could be of blessing to those around me, could create experiences that I would like to experience, but I don't need them to experience happiness. I don't need them to experience peace. I don't need them to feel successful. I don't need them to feel whole. I don't need them to feel like I've made it. I don't need them to define who I am internally.
So I have a question for you. Do you feel like because of everything you have, like I walked through your office today, and I think sometimes I lack like thinking big. You know, you've come to mind, you know, and I come here and I'm like, wow, every sign in here means something. You made it. Do you feel like you get to say this because you're here? You know what I mean?
So I've talked about this in every podcast that we've done. I think the fact that I made it made me realize that I didn't.
Yeah. I totally see that.
If I didn't make it, I would sit here and tell you, I can't say that because I haven't made it. I don't have money. So yeah, it sounds nice to say this shit, but I don't have money.
Correct.
It feels nice to believe in this, but everybody who I see around me who's rich and who's successful and who's famous, they're not living this style of life looking internally. They're looking externally. They're looking, how can I show off? How can I buy the most expensive watch? How can I be sexier? How can I have a six-pack? So what the heck are you talking about, Sarah?
Yeah.
But it's because I've made it that I realized that I haven't actually made anything. That everything that I was searching for in the hope of completing something led me to the belief that I've been lying to myself. And that's the moment I realized that was the first.
Yeah.
Contraction.
Like, oh, crap. Yeah.
Heart attack.
Long one.
I'm like, because.
What made you realize this? Like, I'm hearing you and I'm like, wow. Like, I'm completely blown away. You know?
I started to manage a man who I looked up to my whole entire life and realized his human experience is the same as mine. And I said, oh shit.
That's amazing.
None of these things actually mattered.
Yeah.
He got all the things I want.
That's right.
And he's still feeling how I'm feeling. So how do I do that? And even before I met him, I think the reason life took me to meet him is to continue to show me the journey. But even before that, I was sitting in my place with my life where I said, my body is going into shock. Like, I'm sick. I'm not enjoying the job that I'm doing. I just found out I'm going to become a father in a situation that that wasn't planned. And everything that I thought about life self-exploded. And then it was like, well, God, I grew up believing I have purpose. I grew up believing that the day I pass away is because my time in this place is done. What am I missing? And honestly, it was a trip to Morocco, New Year's, that changed my life. Because I asked the tour guide, why is the facades of the houses outside look so simple? Like, I don't understand. You guys have so many beautiful paintings and angles and domes and stuff. And it's like, you have like a dust wall with a door. And I was like, what the fuck? As an architect, as a lover of architecture, I was just like mind blown. He was like, because we believe that the beauty's on the inside. And then he explained to me the reasoning behind the different door sizes.
I was just going to tell you, my favorite thing about Morocco are the doors.
Yeah. And I that opened up my mind to, okay, everything that I'm looking for is inside. It's not outside. And I think that that's when I also realized that is God's gift to us. All the answers of everything that we are looking for are inside.
How do we practice that?
Look, I think everyone's journey is so different. But I think in my journey, it's been just the understanding that you have to watch how you speak to yourself as the first reality. I have my 3 laws for my journey, very personal journey. 1, the universe is in divine order.
Yep.
Right? If we believe in God, we believe there's this perfection. There's the amount of things that have to happen for any of the things we dream of to happen are 1,000,001 possibilities. Mm-hmm. So the universe is in divine order. The only thing that is not is my mind. And my mind has failed me before. My mind has thought that it was right before and it was wrong. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So check my mind. So every time I'm going through a situation, I check, is that reality or is that my perspective? Mm-hmm. Second, that the stories I tell myself are just that. Mm-hmm. Fear, insecurities, and so on are just a story.
Yeah.
Are just something that I'm resonating in my mind. Mm-hmm. And 3, that if the universe is in control, my mind has failed me before, the stories that I tell myself are what is guiding my journey, mm-hmm. I'm actually not in control.
That's right. That's the biggest one for me. That gets me through every day. Every time I get that feeling, I'm like, it's not even up to me.
Yeah.
That saves me every day, for sure.
That's a solid release of energy when you do that.
Oh my God. It's like, you know what? It's like when they say let God, like literally let God,
I heard you in one of your podcasts talk about, which by the way, congrats.
Thank you so much.
I've generally enjoyed, I'm a consumer of podcasts.
Me too.
And there's something, and I think there's tons of different people that do them really great, but I think there's something when you're just willing to be human. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really loved about yours. It was just like this, I felt like I was just talking to you. Yeah. Like it didn't feel forced or rehearsed, which sometimes I'll be honest, I struggle with. Because I can have a great conversation, but when the lights and cameras are on, I'm like, well, it's not my thing. This is a stretch. Yes. This is me leaning into the hard times.
I see. And you are leaning.
But you said something that I resonated with so much, which is like, I fake it till I make it. Yeah. I sometimes even feel like I'm kind of lying and I'm doing, and I was like, I can talk to me about that because I can resonate that.
Yes. It goes back to my younger self with the shoes, I wasn't that person till I got the shoes. But you can tell yourself you're somebody. And if you act like that person, even without the shoes, you become that person, So I remember lying about someone I styled in order to get another job. And I'm like, I used to work with Travis Scott and this and that and that. That is a damn lie. Okay. I went on a trip with Travis Scott and Jules, but I never styled anyone there, but it's how I could get my foot in the door. If I had never said that, I wouldn't be where I am today. I would have never gotten the job.
It's funny because I always say that I'll go into a meeting sometimes and I'm making up something as I'm in the meeting. Yeah. But it's my forceful manifestation of it. Yeah. Right? It's like it forces me to be like, okay, I gotta go make that shit a reality.
Yes. And
I don't want to come out like a liar.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. I think it's like you said, it's our choice. Like I know I could be that. Why not? Why can he be that and I can't be that? If anything, it brings it to life. Like when you put it in the air, literally when you say it out loud, it can come. It doesn't matter at what point. It's like I have a long to-do list. I have a monthly to-do list. And at the top, I have my monthly goals and I have my weekly goals. And then I have my every single day, what do I want to accomplish? I call them rollover goals because when I can't get it to that month, I roll it over to the next month. And some of those have lasted 5 years. Just like me being signed to an agency for styling. That was 5 years ago I put that thing on there. Last week I got signed to that agency after 5 years.
It's amazing.
And I put it there because I believe in it. I know I can be one of them. Why can't I be one of them? Who said so?
Yeah. I think that's the strong feeling of manifestation and attraction, right? Like I believe in that. And I believe also sometimes what I tell my team is land the plane. Because I do feel sometimes we have so many ideas. Yeah. And we want everything. And when we don't write them down, when we don't understand what that is, we don't know which plane to land. And I would say the airline only makes money when the plane lands. Other than that, it's losing money. The plane has to land so they can refill it with someone else and get it out the way, because every time there's a new person on the seat is when they make money. And I use that and I know that you love journaling as well and writing. I use that in my journal. I really, every morning, try to really define, out of all the goals that I have, what are the 3 that I can actually land the plane on today, so that I can focus my total divine energy on those 3.
God, if you can do that, you're winning.
And it allows me to knock things out in a way that I haven't seen too many people do. Not because they don't have the power to, but because it's very hard to land the plane when you're thinking about landing 50 at the same time.
So true.
Just pick
That's
one.
so good. Yes.
Pick one and focus on that one until you knock it out the park.
And,
you know.
And the thing is, we put all this pressure on ourselves, and it's really just us, it's ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel as a woman, working in fashion, working in entertainment, the sexuality plays a part of kind of the power book, of the power tools that women use?
No. I think that I've never put myself in a position that way. I always say this, and I'm proud of it, honestly. I've never slept with someone in the industry. It's my power.
Yeah.
It's, for me, I think why I'm respected as a woman in the industry, in my industry. I've been asked on dates. The artist has done this, and I'm like, I love you like my brother. Simple as that. There's never been a line crossed. I don't cross that. I love you. I always tell them I love you, but I don't go out like that. I never cross the line. Just because that's where it gets tricky in work. You know what I mean? I don't know where that comes from. I think maybe just my brothers, like always just being very like, all right, like stay in line. You know what I mean? But no, I've never.
That's amazing to hear you say that. Only because we're in a business where, I find myself a lot of times when I'm speaking to young artists, when I'm speaking to, young actresses, the day they feel or they've been taught this story, this narrative that if they don't do that, success will not come, or they will not. And I always say, my whole company is run by incredible, powerful women. And I didn't do that by design, by the way. Like it just happened because I'm drawn to incredible, amazing women, and whether it's our head of business department, our head of agency, my sister runs the company as the GM, Janelle, who produces this podcast and is, runs anything in this world. She's my boss when I'm on the stage. Just incredible women, right? And I love that you said that, because I really believe and like to teach when I speak to young women getting into this business.
Just don't put yourself in that position. It's really as simple as that. Like, the whole Me Too thing. Did you put yourself in that position? Yeah. Did you allow it to happen? There's 2 people there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have that strength. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying for everybody, I don't know what happens in every room, but you can say no and move on and find another door, you know? If somebody's telling you no or telling you something you don't like, go knock on another door, Yeah.
That conversation about, even in relationships, I think that, as you said, we were, especially as a woman in the business, guys coming, or in my case, women coming. One of the things that I realized about being able to have a great relationship, whether it's a marriage or a relationship with a woman, in your case, with your soon-to-be husband, is that taking myself away from the situations, not exposing myself to the narrative, allowed me to be focused enough to understand who I had in front of me and love that person for everything that they are.
I love that so much. Such a beautiful and powerful thing to do. And not a lot of people can do that.
Talk to me about love.
It's my favorite thing in the world. I am French to the bone when it comes to love.
Are you a romantic?
Oh my God. If you want to watch movies with me, do not put me in front of a war movie or in front of something. I want only love stories. It takes me away. Like I love love. I love love so much. I've always been a relationship person. And yeah, love in what way?
So loving love.
Yes.
Right? I wanted your take on love.
Yes.
So then we can counter it with your fear of marriage.
Oh God. I know, it's so weird.
Where does that fear come from?
It comes from, which is why I'm getting married to the right person, by the way. It comes from, I don't want anyone to think or to have the power to take me away from my purpose. I don't think my purpose is to get married and clean the house and do laundry, although I love doing all those things. I am so in my feminine. Creating a home for me is everything, you know, and like my kids and God willing one day, like I can't wait for all of that. But my work, it's just me. You know, my sister-in-law screams at me all the time. She's like, you should have just gotten married to the last one. Like I used to get that all the time. Like you should have just, you know, I got pregnant with my last fiance. And I was like, I know this is not the man for me. I would get yelled at when I would go to work. I would get yelled at when I go to the gym. I'd get yelled at when, like they want to put you in this box, you know? And that wasn't okay with me. And thank God I didn't listen to anyone else but me. That's when you get to sit with yourself and say, okay, no one else matters. No one else is living this. What do you want? And I listened to that. And I think God supported me in that. And I always hope that.
It's hard to get out of a situation once you're in it, right? Like I try to understand the psyche of that because I'm a fault of that historically on putting myself in situations I shouldn't be in or that I'm not necessarily happy.
Do you do it because you feel bad sometimes?
You know,
like
yes.
Staying in a relationship longer than you should.
Yes.
You know?
Well, you know, I think it comes back from that feeling of not feeling good enough, right? So it feels like, let me backtrack that thought so I can give you some context.
Yeah.
My spiritual leader told me the other day, he says, Lex, you have such a giving heart. The question is why you're giving. I was like, it shocked me for the first time. And he said, do you realize that people don't need your saving? In saving them, you're preventing them from learning the lesson they came here to learn. And I was like, and I realized that in relationships, my issue was not so much that they needed saving, it was that I needed to feel like the hero in order to feel like I was really good. So I entered the relationship as this like, you know, Superman type character, like, I will save you.
Yes.
Everything is great. I'm the best boyfriend in the world. You can't believe that you're in love with me because I'm so lovable.
Yes.
And then as the relationship evolves and commitment is needed, or that next step, I check out because I feel like, oh, wait a second. Now I'm seeing all the things about this person I don't like.
Or what else I could have.
What else can I have? And that, or the project is done. Now, how do I move on as an architect to the next project?
Oh my God.
And that made me really, really afraid of marriage for a long time. It made me afraid of, like, similar to you, losing self, you know, losing like your identity.
I think it takes that person that allows you to be your fullest self. Like with Adam now, it was so by accident, but not, right? Like, got out of an engagement that took me forever to get out of, went on a trip by mistake. You know what I mean? Like felt through, I mean, when I tell you I went through a depression that I never believed in depression like that until I went through it, right? Went on a trip that saved my life. And I end up meeting this guy, 4 years younger than me. And I'm like, this is going to be fun. He's young, he's fun, he's, you know, whatever. And this guy ended up just making me realize you can have it all. You can have the person who loves you and go do all your things and talk to them at the end of the day. Yeah. Or don't if you don't want to, you know? And that freedom for me, I'm a butterfly. Yeah. You gotta let me fly. I like to be over there. I like to be over there. I like to be here. Don't tell me I can't, or I will, and you'll hate me after because I'll just forget it. I'm a Moroccan woman at heart. I am tough. So he knows the industry, and I think that helps a lot. And he's not in the industry, which I love, you know? And he understands this lifestyle. His father's the same where, okay, she'd be on set for 4 or 5 months at a time, you know? And it was all good. And I think being raised that way, he understands what that looks like. It's okay to have a powerful woman and also not feel belittled by it.
Why do you think relationships in the business are so hard? Or what makes them hard?
Listen, people are good looking, man. People are sexy. It's easy to fall in the, like it's easy. It's easy. Like you connect with someone and you like there's like that eye moment and you love, right? And like it could easily fall into that. For me, like I'm strong, right? And then there's like you love and then there's everything else. Like I think it could easily fall between the cracks, but I think if you have that, okay, the industry, I know what it is. I see, like we talked about, they're not happy.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you you see how many women they sleep with or how many men they're sleeping with or whatever. It's not beautiful. So it never tarnished my vision for me. It was always very clear. Like I actually don't want that life.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you think is one lesson your soon-to-be husband is here to teach you?
Patience. This poor man, he drove me here today because I was we have to send wedding invitations. So small, right? So small, but it's got to get done. And I'm like in the car trying to do that, but also trying to do all the work.
Yeah.
And he's just like there. He's like, you know what? It's all good. Whoever's meant to come will come. Who can't, they just won't. And like everything is all good for him. I'm like, but it's not like you got to do these things in order for it to be all good. And you try to control everything. I think to release control and teach me patience, for sure.
Is there a lesson that you think life has tried to teach you that you haven't learned and you continue to see yourself making the same mistake over and over?
Yeah. Every day I try to work harder and not smarter. And the truth is, when I've worked less, I've had the same, thank God, like opportunities. But every day, I think I try to fill my time so much to hopefully make it bigger. And I think God has tried to show me so many times that that's just not the way. Like you can take a step back, and I'm just not listening. And I do it every day. And every day, it breaks me down again. And I don't want to listen to that because I think I'll fail.
Are you afraid of failure?
I'm afraid to not succeed. So I guess, yes, that's failure. Yeah.
It's interesting because, I think most humans are afraid of not becoming.
Yes.
Because again, I think the human condition or the human struggle is figuring out what we're here for, right? Most people are trying to define and find purpose in that. And so we put so much of that effort towards our job or, for some people being mothers, for some other people being fathers. And as we get towards the conclusion of the podcast, one of the things that made me do this podcast and maybe title it You versus You is because I understood, as we've seen through our conversation, that our biggest battle is not with the people outside. It's not with our future husbands or boyfriends or girlfriends or wives or our clients or our own work. It's just us.
Yeah.
Like it's just us in the mirror. And because of that, I learned that the words we tell ourselves are so powerful. And I learned that because I learned that if I come here and I look at you and I say, Sarah, I love you, your body feels something. If somebody comes here and says something negative to you or texts it to you sometimes, your body goes into contraction, right? We've all gotten those texts from someone and you're just like, oh, no, she didn't, or no, he didn't. But I realized that we are so kind to other people, but yet we're so hard to ourselves.
God, I just want to pause on that because it's just so true. It's so true. Every single day, I work so hard to make other people feel good, and I put myself last. Every day.
The human condition. And I think that the one thing I want to leave with in this podcast is allow people, you're not going to change overnight. You're not going to transform, 30 years, 20 years, 15, whatever, of lessons overnight. But what allows you to move on is just starting to be aware of the, hey, rephrase that. It's not I think, it's I want, I know. Hey, catch yourself in the moment of that, right? And so what I like to end this podcast with every guest is asking you to do an exercise with me. What is one word or one phrase that you can tell yourself right now that will change the dynamic of the rest of your week?
Choose. To choose how I want my week to look like. I get to choose it. It's just about actually choosing the right thing.
For me, is you're doing it.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah. So good.
Beautiful.
You're so good. This is so good.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for so sharing time with us and sharing time with me. I love the conversation, and I really feel that we should have multiple ones of these. I
agree.
One your podcast, one mine. But
100%.
I love talking to you. I'm
too.
So blessed to know you and have you in my life.
I can't wait for more of this.
Yes.
Because there's something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we said. And
there is.
Thank you so much.
Too many more.
Yes. Amen.
Thank you for watching You Versus You. I am so excited to be able to share these conversations with you in the hopes that they will transform the deepest part of who you are and that you can start living the life of your dreams. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share with anyone who needs to hear this message. My hope is that we build community and that together we can live the life of our dreams.